Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and welcome to the Snob West Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Snob West Show. We definitely want to take a quick moment to thank you for tuning in, for your continued support. Also, to remind you that we do have a Patreon where you can watch the show live and get exclusive content. To find out how to sign up for that, you can head on over to patreon.com/snobblewestcast. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show. We're going to kick it off with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. Well, this past Friday was Apple Pickup Day for any devices that you may have pre-ordered or decide to go into the store and pick up from the It's a Glowtime event. Terrance and I both picked up some devices. So we're going to take a moment to do some impressions and thoughts on our devices. We've had them for about 5-6 days now. So, Brother Tech, what did you end up picking up? And what are some of your initial impressions on the devices that you did pick up?
Yeah, sure. So I picked up the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and I also, I think we talked a couple of weeks back, and I was kind of up in the air about what specific watch I was going to get. I ended up getting the Apple Watch Ultra 2 in the black color,
Mm-hmm.
since it's a new color. And again, my hang up has always been, well, I mean, it's a watch with a lot of features that I'll probably never use. Scuba diving and
Mm-hmm.
trails and hiking and biking and compasses and all that fancy stuff of a rugged, ultra adventurer outdoorsy watch, right? So I was like, whatever. And it was more expensive. Well, now that since the stainless steel Apple Watch Series 10 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 in the black color are the same price. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, it's the same price. So, and then when I went to go try them on, because my plan was to go to the Apple store, pick up my phone, and then try out both of the watches. I have an Apple Watch Series 9. I went into the store, tried out the Apple Watch Series 10, and even though they said it's thinner, and even though they said the screen is bigger, which gives you more screen real estate, the watches looked exactly the same to me. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, it's a step up. But it ain't really all that different. So let me try on the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So I put it on. I was like, I'm buying it. Pack it up. Bag it up.
It's coming home.
Yeah. It's a different look. It's a different feel. It's a bigger watch on my arm. And I was concerned, I don't have huge hands. I don't have huge
Mhm.
wrists. I would call my wrist ultra average. So I was concerned that the Apple Watch Ultra was going to look big and bulky on my wrist. So when I put it on,
Mhm.
it fits super nice. And
Mhm.
it's got that black color that matches my aesthetic, right? And I've got
Mhm.
a black wedding ring. I've got a black phone. I got black hair. I'm black,
It
you
fits
know?
your aesthetic.
Right. So, it matched right up. I was like, bag it up. Just go ahead, bag it up. This is what I'm going with. So I canceled my Series 10 stainless steel black version and picked up the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So those are the two things that I purchased. My first impressions of both the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max is the battery life.
Mhm.
Battery life is much better. I would say maybe 40 to 50% better. And this is just me having it for 5 or 6 days, but I can definitely go a day and then some on both
Mhm.
my phone and both my watch. When before, at the end of one day, I was on low power mode, turning Bluetooth off,
Mhm.
the toggling
Saving it.
airplane mode, all that. Well, I've noticed that with both my phone and my watch, like before, I wouldn't sleep in my watch
Mhm.
because it would power down by the time I woke up. And it's like I
Mhm.
need my watch throughout the day.
Through the day.
So it's like I either wear it to sleep and have it on the charger during the day, which is pointless, or put it on the charger at night and put it on my arm and wear it during the day. Well, with the Apple Watch Ultra 2, I can sleep in it, especially with that whole sleep apnea thing. I'm trying to make sure I want to see how that works, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, all right, well, now I can sleep in my watch. I can take it off the charger, put it on, wear it all day, sleep in it, and wake up and it still be at 40-50%. So much so to where when I put it on the charger in the morning, brush my teeth, get in the shower, put some clothes on, get the kids ready, by that time it's back up to 100%. So then I wear it all day, go to sleep, right? Same thing with the phone. At the end of the day, I was low power mode, whatever the case may be. I can let this thing run all day and not have to worry about it. So that is the first thing I noticed about both the Apple Watch Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. The second thing was the camera control button. It is a button, even though it's haptic and it's concaved into the phone. When you press down on it, you still get that click. Get that click. So that's a button, right? It's handy. It's very useful for quickly being able to, on the lock screen or wherever you are, click that thing to automatically open up the Photos app, and then click it again to take a picture, or press and hold and it'll record a video. You take your finger off, it stops recording. So it's very, very handy for that. I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that it forces you to record or shoot videos in landscape, because in order to use the camera control button, you have to turn your phone landscape in order to get your right finger in the spot to actually press the button and then zoom in and out or change the focus or aperture or whatever the case may be. If you try to do it in portrait, which what everybody nowadays is doing, I remember back in the day, it was like shooting in portrait is stupid. Everybody turn your phone to the side. Now we've gotten into everybody is creating content exclusively for smartphones and portrait mode. We've all gotten into shooting in portrait mode. So this kind of forces you to go back to landscape, which may not, jive with a lot of the content, wherever you're trying to put the content. It's one thing if you're just taking pictures in the Photos app. It's a whole another thing if you're creating content for like social media, because everybody's watching it in portrait.
Wait, so I have a question. So if you're holding your phone up in this mode, is this where you were saying you can't use the camera control?
Are you using it like that? It's weird. It feels weird to me to hold it in portrait and use the camera control.
Maybe if it was shifted up, if they shifted both the buttons, if they shifted this up some and then shifted this up some, then it may be a little bit easier to use.
I've got the Pro Max, so it's a bigger phone.
Oh, it's bigger phone, yeah.
Right. So it's more comfortable. Let me not say it's not impossible to use the camera control button in portrait.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute. Didn't I use it in portrait? I was like, unless I'm getting my orientations backwards. I was like, I'm pretty sure I did that. Okay.
Yeah,
that's why it was like throwing off a little bit.
Yeah, it's more comfortable to me in landscape mode, but it's very handy, super fast, right? The other thing that I use the most, and I think I've mentioned this before, is the mirroring your iPhone onto your Mac. So I use that all day long, to where it's like if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm on my computer, I don't even touch my phone. I leave it docked and charging, and then just use the iPhone mirroring thing, make sure the phone is locked.
Yep.
And then I can go in and use the phone, which helps out a lot when I'm posting video or posting content on social media. It feels smoother when I'm actually doing it on my Mac. So being able to pop that on my screen and use it as a regular phone, super handy. The other thing that I did was I've actually downloaded the public beta of 18.1, which comes with the Apple Intelligence. I've waited long enough. It's like, all right, I'm getting this new phone. I want to try some new features on this new phone. So I actually downloaded Apple Intelligence, and the two things that I've fallen in love with is the cleanup tool. For those who don't know, cleanup tool is similar to Google's Magic Eraser, to where if you take a picture and there's somebody or something in the background, you can erase that out.
You can remove it. Oh, okay.
So with iOS, with the public beta and the developer beta, they don't have all the features of Apple Intelligence, but that is one of the features that you can. Yeah, and that's one of the features you can use right now. And I've actually already used it. Like we mentioned in the pre-show, we took my oldest daughter on college tours, and there are a couple of pictures to where I've taken of her, and there are people in the background. And I actually went in and did the
swipe.
cleanup tool. And basically, you don't even have to, like with the Magic Eraser for Google.
You have to Yeah.
You have to circle
You
the
have to
thing
swipe it. Yeah.
from the commercial. I don't have a Google phone, so anybody's listening to this and they're a Google fan, please correct me. But from the commercial, you circle the thing you want to delete and the thing goes away, right? The way the Apple's cleanup tool works is once you click the little eraser tool at the bottom, it'll automatically scan for and find and
Things
suggest
that are out of
that things
focus.
that are out of focus.
Yeah.
And you get it, and at the bottom there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. If you click the thumbs up, it keeps it. If you click the thumbs
Mm-hmm.
down, those things that is suggested are gone. And I mean, it just
Mm.
works flawlessly. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm
Nice.
using this all the time. So
All the time.
like over the past couple days, I've just been on my phone
Let me clean
scanning
up all
through
these photos.
scanning through hundreds of photos, see if there's some stuff in the background that I can get rid of. And I mean, it works
Right.
smooth, you know.
Nice.
So those are the two things. And then the other thing is mail summaries, and you can do this in other things like messages. But I found it most useful in mail, to where when you're on your phone and you're looking at all of your email inboxes, you know, you actually have to click into the mail message to actually see what the subject is or the context is. Well, with the mail summaries thing, they give you the context right under the subject. It says who it's from, the subject, and this is the summary of the email. So I
It's
don't even have to
basically
go
what
in.
they saying.
I don't even have to go in there. I just click delete, mark as read, or whatever, or go into it if I need to, you know, action something. So
Yeah.
those are the two things that I've used the most out of the Apple Intelligence. So I'm still getting used to figuring out all the stuff that's in there now versus all the stuff that's coming. But those are two things immediately I was like, oh, that's dope.
Nice.
So that's sort of two things, or all the things so far. There's things that I'm discovering all the time, but just over the past week, those are the things that I've seen the most.
So for me, I picked up the iPhone 16 Pro, the Apple Watch Series 10 in titanium, and I also went ahead and picked up a pair of the AirPod Max.
Okay.
Again,
All right.
it's just the
Oh,
color
okay.
and the
All right.
USB-C. So
All right.
I was in the store and I was like, you know what? I think I want it. So I'm gonna buy it because I was really considering getting a new iPad Pro M4, but you know, we talked last week and they were having issues with the iOS. So I was like, I might as well chill on that at least until the Apple Intelligence release candidate comes out, and I can just get it then, because it's not like it's something I actually have to have. But I've been wanting the over the ears for a while, and I was like, it doesn't look like Apple is going to give me anything else other than what they've given. They've now,
That's it.
changed the charging to USB-C. They gave you some more colors and they're like, look here, damn, are you happy now?
They didn't
So
change.
I
They
was
didn't
like,
change that case or nothing. They was just like, here,
nope,
shut up.
nope, take it. And so I was like, okay, so let me go ahead and get into it. So nothing really changed with that. But what I have to say, I think the most noticeable thing for me is I always get the Pro line since they came out, because the Pro Max was just too big. I have small hands. So I was like, I want something comfortable. But I don't know what they've done with the bezel. I've seen some images of the side by side from like the 13, no, the 14, the 15, and the 16. And you could see, slight changes in the bezel that's on the outside. But whatever this bezel change is, it fits so much nicer in my hand. It was a noticeable change for
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah. So, because like
The
when
material.
the material and the curve of it,
Oh,
whatever
got
they
it.
did with the curve,
Got it. The
it
chamfer.
nestles.
Yeah.
It settled. It nuzzles in my hand a lot more better, and it feels a lot better. So like when I was unboxing and I was like holding the two phones together, and I was like, wow, this is different. That was like the initial thing that really kind of like, oh wow, this feels better. This feels better in my hand. And for me, we've all when they first announced this, I like my aesthetic. I like the gold. I like the color. And I was like, oh, this gold looks more like the gold I want. Well, I'm in the store getting ready to pick up my device, and I'm looking at it, and I asked the salesman, shout out to Brian, he was a great customer service person in the Apple store that I went to. And it didn't look like the gold that was from the announcement. It in the announcement, it looked like a gold, like
For the
gold
phone.
bar gold, right, for the phone, for the
Mhm.
iPhone 16 Pro. It looked like, gold bar gold. But when I was looking at the table, I was like, do y'all not have it out? Because I
Mhm.
don't see it.
Mhm.
Because in person, it looks more rose gold than gold. And
Mhm.
so I was a little bit disappointed
It looks
in
good when you
that
held
fact,
it
but it
up.
looks good. Yeah,
Mhm.
it looks good. It does match my watch.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where it I like it. It's just not what I was initially expecting based
Right.
on the announcement. Again, they have to razzle dazzle it up. You got the lights and all those things. So it just looked different. And I was like, which one is it? It doesn't look like either one. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, but the fit, is definitely key. The way I hold it in my hand, it feels a lot
Mhm.
better. I agree with the iPhone mirroring. Super dope.
Mhm.
I mean, wow.
Mhm.
I really, really like it. Like, I don't need to I found myself, thinking to pick up my phone. I was like, no, Dodo, you got it right here. And
Right.
it's like, oh yeah, click, click, click. I'm already clicking. I'm already typing. So it's already there. So super impressed with the mirroring. I will say with my Series 10, I have my MacBook Pro set up where my watch will unlock my MacBook. So I don't even have to do like the finger press or type in
Mhm.
my password. If I have my watch on, which I usually do, it'll just unlock it. Not with this. So I'm thinking it's something on the Sequoia side. When I
What?
went into, I was like, what's this weird? I went to the settings and my other Apple Watches are listed there.
Mhm.
This one isn't. I tried to manually pair it.
Mhm.
Won't do it. Won't do it.
So, um, and do you have multiple watches that you actively use?
So
'Cause-
no, I turned them off. So they were all like the other watches that I had. They
Mhm.
were turned on, and it has like the slider where you can turn them off. I was like, let me turn it off. Let me turn off because again, I'm a tech hoarder, so I don't really get rid of anything. So I box everything back up. I have all the boxing, all the sleeves, all the stuff. So I powered everything down, put it back in the box, put it in my Apple closet,
Mhm.
and then when I tried to it asked me if I wanted to, I think, unlock it. And then when I tried it, it wouldn't. And I was like, let me see what's going on with this. And when I looked into the settings for where you put in the Apple Watch,
Mhm.
it's not listed there. And
So,
I was like, that's weird.
probably what you're going to have to do is remove those other watches that you're not using from iCloud. So you have to go to iCloud.com and
Hmm.
remove those devices from your account. And then I think that's going to, because my understanding is, well, my hypothesis
Hmm.
is only one watch can be connected to your iCloud account at one time in order to
Hmm.
unlock your Mac using your watch. I'm assuming maybe for security
Maybe,
issues.
yeah. And
But
maybe it's with Sequoia that's now being exacerbated or acknowledged because again, my other watches are on there
right,
and I
right.
had no problem. So I don't know if it's maybe some of the security updates that's in Sequoia that
Yeah.
was like, nope, not gonna do it anymore. And so I did a little bit of looking into it and I was like, after I couldn't go into the settings and manually pair my
Hmm.
watch, I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. So I'm gonna do something
Yeah.
else.
So I had, yeah, because I had my problems with it when I upgraded because I assumed the public beta of 18.1 was causing so many issues, but then I went in and toggled it off,
Mhm.
toggled it back on, and now it works just like the way it did before. But I'm assuming maybe
Interesting.
because too many watches on your Apple account, it's like, we don't trust it. We ain't doing it.
Right. They're trying to trick us.
Mhm.
Um, and I have to say the snappiness of of the screen refresh,
Mhm.
it's a noticeable difference from my 14 Pro to the 16 Pro. So that chip is chipping. So I really like the smoothness and the snappiness of that as well. And the last thing is I finally decided on the wallpaper customization that I
Mhm.
wanted to go with, and I got the tinting right. So I really like that I can have minimal icons. I'm a little
Mhm.
bit of a minimalist maximist, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I only have, a handful of apps on my home screen And in the dock, I actually wanted to not have any apps in the dock
Okay.
on the home screen, but I could do that, but then it still had the shaded area. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, if it's
Defeats the
still
purpose.
shaded, then well, it doesn't make any sense. So I didn't put in the 4. I think I have maybe 2 or 3 apps in there. So it's super minimal. You can really see my background. And what I did was I created about 4 different wallpapers. So depending on my mood, I can just kind of toggle and swipe through which, screen that I want to have depending
Yeah.
on my mood.
Yeah, and I haven't really gotten into it, but the focus modes to where you can set them up, you can set up to where and I want to do it for like when I'm going out, like
Mhm.
if me and my wife are going out and I don't want to be in my phone when we're
Mhm.
supposed to be, date night or whatever. I want
Mhm.
to set up a super minimalist, and you have to download a separate widget app for this, but I
Mhm.
want to be able to change my focus instead of swiping through the lock screens and things. I
Mhm.
want to create a focus mode called
Yep.
date night or something. And
Mhm.
all I got to do is swipe down on the control center, hit that focus mode, and my watch and my phone all switch over to this quote unquote date night. I haven't done it. I haven't had time to play with it yet, but definitely want to do that.
So I had that with my actual 14 Pro. It was called Me Time.
Hmm.
And it was when I did not want to be bothered by anybody or anything. It's just all the controls are on and it's bare bones,
Hmm.
nothing. And that's what I did. I would swipe because like I have a focus set up for the show when we do podcasting or when I go on any other podcasting shows. I did one for myself called Me Time. And it's like, if I go and get my nails done and I just don't want to be bothered, or if I go and get a massage, or if I just want to, read a book unencumbered by anything. And again, I don't have any of the notifications. Like my phone stays on silent. I don't get any dings or any kind of thing like that because all that kind of just annoys me. But yeah, it really is the super. I just want some quiet time, and that's my me time focus. So
Yep.
yeah, definitely take some time to set it up. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And I set up one of the like my home screen, the one I have now. You can set it for live photos. So I have a picture from when I was on my birthday trip this year in St. Lucia, and it's basically the rocks and the ocean kind of crashing in, and whenever it goes into the lock screen, you can kind of see that motion of the water kind of crashing on the waves, and it's like that's calming. I remember when I was there, and it was great. So
Yeah.
just a little piece of that. So I'm learning new things. I didn't set up the action button because the way that I have my control center set up,
Hmm.
especially when you can kind of swipe through your favorites through music, I have
Hmm.
it all set up. So I really don't need an 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 action button. And for me, I don't know if other people use it, but there's a setting on your phone where you can do tap back. So if I tap my phone back twice, it does something. And if I tap my phone, now I have it where it does it opens the camera. So if I just
Hmm.
tap my phone twice, it opens the camera. So
Right.
I don't have the camera button on my screen
Hmm.
anymore because I just do the tap back. And then if I take a lot of screenshots from on it's like, ooh, that's cool. And my other tap back is a screenshot. So
Right.
I've already customized it enough
To
where
death. Well,
I
so
don't need this button right now.
yeah, so you can get really in the weeds with that button, especially if you integrate shortcuts, right?
Hmm.
So one of the things that I've got, like when I hit the action button, actually 4 buttons pop up, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things I got, because I'm getting back into exercising, so
Hmm.
I've got the action button set up to where if I press that button, it puts my phone in fitness mode, focus mode.
Hmm.
It connects to my Bluetooth speaker in my exercise room, and it queues up my exercise playlist. One button, click, 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 and runs through and does all those things, right? So you
Nice.
can get like think about like something that you do like in multiple steps. And
Hmm.
if you can script that in the shortcuts app, instead of it just doing one thing, because a lot of people think of the action button as it can do one thing. You turn on the flashlight or start a timer or whatever the case may be. But if you integrate that with the Shortcuts app, you click that button, it'll do this,
Set your life
and
up.
that. Yeah. Lock your doors, turn on your lights outside,
Nice.
you
I may
know,
play around with that.
yeah. It's definitely
That might work.
yeah. Because I had the same problem with the Apple Watch Ultra 2 with the action button on this. So now I got two action buttons. I got one on the phone and one on the watch. So now it's like, all right, well now what? So I got this one on my watch because when I'm doing yard work or whatever, I'm always going in and out of the house. So I got it to where it locks and unlocks my front door. And then I've got the action button on my phone that, in addition to a couple other things, does all those steps, that sequence when I want to when I want to work out. So, and then the last thing I want to say is, don't believe the hype. If you have a larger, and this is one of the things that I thought was going to stop me from getting the Ultra 2. But when I went into the Apple store and I have the 45 millimeter, the larger Apple Watch, all the bands work for the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So I was like, bag it up. Because that was one of the things I was like, I'm going to have to buy new bands. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with these.
It was like, nope, you can keep them.
Yeah. So when I took mine off and put it on the Apple Watch and it clicked in there, I was like, yep, buy it.
Got it.
Ain't no sense of messing around. So
nice.
Don't believe the hype. If you've got a larger Apple Watch, the bands are interchangeable between the Ultra 2 and the larger Apple Watches. If you've got the smaller ones, there may be some indiscrepancies there, but if you wear the larger one, you're just fine.
Yeah, I did the larger one. I was like, people are like, oh, it's too big. I was like, nope, it's actually perfect. So yeah, those were our thoughts. By the sound of it, we are both enjoying our new products. And I think once we get Apple Intelligence, which I suspect we'll probably get sometime in October, because I think the 18.1 beta 5 was just released this week. So I think we're getting closer and closer to a final release candidate. And I'm hoping that it's going to be the end of October, sometime in October. I think we may expect to see it. So exciting about that, to see it, Apple Intelligence finally in action. I think I'm going to wait until the release candidate and dig in then.
All right.
So I did have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in the lowdown this week. They're pretty quick stories. Apple Card, we both have them. Apple Card Savings, which is the high yielding savings account that pairs alongside the Apple Card. Again, it's high yielding. We know rates kind of fluctuate up and down. Well, a notification, I didn't see the notification. I saw nope, I did. I saw the email that came through. Normally you kind of get like a notification in the Wallets app, but I think I saw it in the email on this past Tuesday that Apple and Goldman Sachs, they both own the card, have cut the current interest rate from 4.4% to 4.25%. So that means you'll get a little bit less money on your annual return. But I think that's just the nature of the beast. We've seen it kind of fluctuate. It went up back in December 2023 to 4.25. Then it went up again in early January to 4.35. And then it went up again in late January to 4.5%. And the reason they're saying that these interest rates are toggling around, if you follow, financial news, the U.S. Federal Reserve, they did, I think it was last week, they did a rate cut, and it's 50 basis points, but I think that's like
it's like 0.5%
or something. Yeah, it's like 0.05%. And so what that did was it adjusted it, allowed for, or based on the market rate, for Apple to decide to drop that the interest rate that they have for the Apple savings as well. So when you see those fluctuations, it's not necessarily that Apple is, I guess, doing something, so to speak. It looks like, to me, it's going along with the market trends that the Fed, the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is a governmental agency that regulates our money, um, uh, basically put out. So anytime something like that happens, it usually kind of ripples through the financial sector, especially with anything that has to do with percentage rating, whether it's on your mortgage rate, car rate. So anything that you're having, to deal with percentage, whether it be interest earned or interest loss, is kind of around that same effect. So for those of you who have Apple savings via your Apple card, that is essentially what that means.
So much so, not so much so. It's only gone down a half percentage point, but in the story, it mentions like the slow creep down to where it was almost 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not with Apple Card savings, but with some of the other high yield savings accounts, they were almost as high as 5 maybe a year ago, and they're all creeping back down to 4.25, which is still a lot when compared
Yeah.
to a traditional bank that offers
Yeah.
maybe 0.012 or 2%.
Yeah.
But I'm almost like, all right, well, I need to put my money back into the stock market because I know I can do better than 4%. I can get up to like 6,
Mm-hmm.
with picking the right stocks, but there's a risk in that, right?
And it's effort.
And it's effort versus the high yield savings account. Just leave the money in there and,
Let it do its thing.
and let it do its thing. So yeah, there's some decisions that'll have to be made across the board in addition to
Mm-hmm.
just, Apple.
Yeah. It's a bigger thing. This just happens to affect this particular aspect of Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I did want to point out, Netflix is ending some of the support for some iPhones and iPads. So currently, per Mac Rumors, the app for Netflix no longer supports devices that are on iOS 16 or iPad OS 16. So this includes a couple of different models. The iPhone 10, for those of you who are still on that, the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, the 5th gen iPad, and the first generation iPad Pro. I think this is probably about the first time that the first generation iPad Pro is falling out of the cycle of things being of iPads being supported.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically is, if you want to continue using the Netflix app, you're going to have to upgrade your device if you're watching the app on any of these devices. And I don't believe the article indicated what specifically is going on with the Netflix app that is causing them to say, hey, this iOS and this iPad OS isn't going to be compatible with the product that we are shipping. So just be advised, because I know a lot of people have their kids iPads. There are some older devices because they just kind of knock them around, or you yourself may be using an older device because I'm not spending any more money to buy any more Apple devices when mine works perfectly fine. So just being aware that you may not be able to watch your favorite Netflix programs on your phone or your iPad.
Which makes sense because the iPhone 10 and the 10R and the 10S are barely creeping along with iOS 18. Those are like the last devices that can get iOS 18 from Apple, right? So if Apple is telling folks, hey man, y'all need to upgrade, surely Netflix is like, come on y'all. Come on, y'all. Upgrade.
You can do it. You can do it.
Which I mean, I can see why people push back for, like you mentioned. There's some kids that probably don't need phones, don't need tablets, but are the tablet and the phone is the babysitter. So instead of spending $600-700 for a new iPhone, you get them, dig in the drawer, find them an old iPad, find them an old iPhone, put a case on it, put a rugged little rubber case on it, and then let them do their thing.
Let them knock it around, and it's fine.
But now you may have to make some business decisions, especially if Netflix was the babysitter.
Netflix, right? Yep. So yeah, so it's just more of a be advised kind of heads up kind of situation of what's coming down the pike. So be prepared. That is going to wrap the lowdown unless there's anything else you wanted to chat about for
Nope.
Apple.
Nope.
All right, cool. We're going to head on over to second string where we talk all other tech. So I couldn't quite decide which of these things, because if you've noticed, we've been only doing typically about one story in second string, but I wanted to include both of these because I think they have important factors. The first up, California, they just put into law, it's called click to cancel. So basically, it's a law that requires companies to make it as easy to cancel a subscription as it is to sign up for a subscription. So this is officially on the books for California, and it's officially known as AB 2863, but it's called click to cancel. And if you remember last year, Adobe got into some trouble with the way they were handling people when they were trying to cancel their Adobe subscriptions, primarily because they were adding this AI component. And what the terms of services were intimating was that we own your stuff if you edit your stuff in our app. And people were freaking out because a lot of people use Adobe Premiere for their editing, Photoshop for their photos. And they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean you now own it? So the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they were like, yeah, Adobe, this is not good. You cannot do this. And FTC, in fact, wants this click to cancel law to go in effect nationwide. But of course, California is leading the trend. And like I said, for what the FTC specifically called out, it said that the rule that proposed that California has put in is the proposed rule will require businesses to make it at least as easy to cancel subscription as it is to start it. For example, if you can sign up online, you must be able to cancel on the same website in the same steps.
I shouldn't have to send no email. I shouldn't have to do none of that.
Mail nothing in, because what was happening was Adobe, when people were trying to it was a mass cancellation that people were trying to get out. One of the issues that a consumer said was they were trying to opt out of a subscription, and they were trying a subscription. They just wanted to see, hey, am I going to like this service or not? And then they forgot to cancel it. And so typically, if you do the free trial, if you don't cancel within a week or 2 weeks or whatever is previously identified, you roll into the regular subscription. So with Adobe, you can only cancel the subscription within the first 2 weeks. Otherwise, if you try to cancel after the first 2 weeks, they charge you a fee to cancel.
Oh, get out of here.
And additionally, Adobe, this is all from the FTC, Adobe does not issue an annual reminder that your subscription is coming up.
Of course not.
As some companies do, and said the account simply auto-renews without notice. And so the FTC said all of this, their proposed rule that California has implemented, came out of this whole Adobe situation. One thing to note, again, this will cause a change to be made in the infrastructure of some people's apps. So even though the law has been approved and the rule has been approved into law, it takes effect mid-2025, of course, to give companies time to ensure that you can unsubscribe the same way you subscribe.
And that's
it's only fair. No, so that's what I was wrapping up. This is actually really good for the consumer. Unfortunately, it's only going to be for California residents. So, well, you know what? I take that back. I don't know if it's just for California residents. It doesn't say in this article if it's for companies based in California or
Mhm.
if it's for California residents. So that's the
Right.
part that is not I'm not clear about. But yeah, so that's the synopsis and thoughts.
It's only fair if it's super simple to where all I got to do is enter my email address, confirm that that's my email, and then enter my first and last name, and I can sign up.
Mhm.
It should be as easy as for me to cancel subscription, and then that's it. Not flip through a bunch of. Are you sure? Because a lot of them are
Tell
like,
us why.
right, and last minute you can still do this, and still I don't want to do all that. I just want to
We'll give you
cancel.
50% off.
And then they hide that setting, that option deep,
Deep, deep, deep
deep.
down.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, man.
You got to Google it to find out how to do it.
It's like, how greedy do you have to be to where you're making me jump through all these hoops to cancel my? And that's with most things. That's not just with tech. That's like with most things
LA freaking
nowadays.
Fitness. You had to mail in a letter
So stupid.
to their California office and they had to manually process it.
It's like, come on, man. It's like, can we? There's capitalism and then there's just like greed. And it's like, come on, man, give us a break, man. I should be able to click and cancel my subscription, which is why the argument, bringing this back to Apple, the argument for subscribing inside of Apple,
Yep.
because it's just as easy inside of Apple to cancel the subscription.
Your subscription, yeah.
And I get it. These companies are like, oh, Apple's taking too much, 30% commission, all this other stuff, whatever. Yeah, but if I do it outside of Apple, I got to do all this new stuff per service when I can go into Apple and subscribe to a bunch of stuff and as easily go to one spot and unsubscribe from a bunch of things. So it's like,
you see when it renews, you see if it's annual, if it's monthly, how much. It's all there, nice and neat.
Y'all are
making our lives easier.
Y'all are not making it convenient
Nope.
for me to sign up on your website because I got to jump through all these hoops to unsubscribe when if I just do it in Apple, it just does it. So it's like, all right, y'all want us to get out of Apple and go to Netflix.com and go to DisneyPlus.com and go to all. Y'all need to make it as easy as it is for me to do it inside, and y'all not. So it's just like, what y'all gonna do?
Thank you for this rule. I hope that it does become a national law. I hope the FTC really, I don't know what else they can do. They've already said you should do it. But do this, everybody.
We got to
make our life easier.
We got to get these elder statesmen out of office.
They got to go.
Some young tech folks who do this on a regular. It's like, hey, no, we making that a bill tomorrow.
On day one. The bill's already written before we even get there. We just need to say, hey, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to talk about, I thought you would be very interested in this because I know when we talk, which is very rare these days, about Apple Vision Pro, what Meta is doing with their new product called Orion, which they've dubbed the world's first holographic AR glasses. And it says with a neural interface. So essentially, at MetaConnect 2024, they demoed a prototype of a new AR glasses. They look similar to the Ray-Ban sunglasses. These are a bit thicker.
A bit is an understatement.
You can definitely tell that this is a prototype. But I say all that to say is what's included in this, if they can get it down to a more realistic, even though it looks they look like glasses.
Right.
Again, they're just very thick. But if they can do this, I think, this is what many people were thinking about when they think of AR glasses. So the glasses were designed. This is all from Tom's Guy. the glasses are designed to keep cool, because if you think about it, if you're doing all this processing in these very, I won't say very small, but small for what the intents are,
Mm-hmm.
glasses, this is a lot of technology in a very small confined space. But it's because the lenses in these glasses um aren't
Aren't
glass.
lenses. Yeah.
There aren't really lenses. They aren't
Mm-hmm.
glass and they aren't plastic. They are made of silicon carbide. And basically, this material is supposed to be more durable and lighter and have a higher ultra index refraction rate for the projector. So basically, if you're doing VR and it's projecting these images, this is what this silicon carbide does. This is what it's made for. One of the other things is, if you think about Oculus, if you think about Apple Vision Pro,
Mm-hmm.
they are goggles that basically immerse you
Mm-hmm.
in whatever world you're in, whether it be Meta's Horizon or whether it's Vision OS. These glasses are clear, so you can see out and people can look at you and see your eyes, so
Mm-hmm.
they aren't covered. So it gives you a very real, you're just wearing your glasses and you
Mm-hmm.
can do all of these things. So um these VR glasses, they leverage, this is where I think it gets a little bit more cumbersome, but again, they demoed it as a prototype and they're continuing to work on it based on what Mark Zuckerberg said. But currently on this prototype, um it uses eye and hand tracking similar to what you can do in Vision Pro. But in order to do that, it has to have a wrist accessory called an EMG wristband that's similar, to your Apple Watch. That's what's leveraging the tech to be
Mm-hmm.
able to actually use the tracking. Whereas with the over the ear, the eyes, it's with the Oculus, you have the hand thing, so that makes sense. But when you think about the Vision Pro, you just use your pinching fingers. And the other thing is, it is also has a separate battery puck. But I want to bring this up to you because I know this is more in line what you were hoping for the Vision Pro or the Apple glasses. It seems like they have made some significant strides on this. If they can get the size down, get rid of some of the extra peripherals, I think Meta may be on the forward from what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what Apple is doing, in their R&D, but what has been announced, it looks like this Meta Orion is closer in line with what you were talking about, with what you were expecting from VR glasses.
Yeah, they are. They are bulky, but they aren't as bulky as some fashionable glasses that I've seen
Mhm.
people wear. So it's not
Yeah.
that far of a fetch. They are thicker than, if you're watching our show on live or on YouTube. I wear glasses regularly, with the exception
Mhm.
of, going to sleep
Mhm.
and maybe watching TV. I've got some glasses, on right now that are pretty thin, but I've got some other ones that are a little thicker. And these Meta Orion glasses are thicker than that, but at the
Mhm.
same time, they are not like show stopping,
Yeah.
thick to where,
Because
some.
I've seen some women glasses that have that
Hmm.
super big,
Hmm.
bulky, thick, that I'm like, why do you have all that on your face? And to me, that's why I said they're large-ish, because I've seen people with glasses that have this border that is just as thick as this.
Right. Um, it is definitely a step in the right direction. You can definitely, but still though, you can tell when the glasses quote unquote fire up,
Mhm.
because you're looking at somebody that has, regular prescription glasses on. They can
Mhm.
see my eyes and I can see theirs. When these fire up, that it kind of changes to where
Mhm.
there's kind of like a blue tint, because those lenses are screens
Mhm.
effectively. They've got to be able to provide some sort of information out in front of you. In order to do
Right.
that, it can't be just as clear, right?
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of a change. They don't completely go you think of transition sunglasses to where you walk out, and then they kind of shade to cover your eyes. It kind of does that, but not,
as
uh,
deep and dark.
right. There's almost like a blue tint to the glasses.
Hmm.
And, again, they have to do that because, it's a screen in front of your face, but they don't want the information to be right in front of your face. They got to
Right.
project it out. So they've got to be able to do that some way. So,
Right.
definitely give Meta props for taking it this step. I'm actually going through a Verge article to where the Verge people actually got a chance to put the glasses on their face outside
Hmm.
of this just being a demo, a controlled demo from Meta.
Environment. Yeah.
Right. They actually put the glasses on, let them take some pictures, do some basic stuff. And yeah, no, if they continue down this path, they will, Meta, Apple, whomever, will get to a point to where the glasses won't look as ridiculous.
Yeah.
They won't be as bulky. You won't need all these, Apple with the Vision Pro got the battery that you got to put in your pocket. And
Yeah.
even this, it's got this big bracelet that you have to wear, right? Eventually they'll get down to where they're prescription glasses because, again, I wear glasses. Like, I need glasses
To be able to see.
Right. I mean, I'm not that blind, but at the same time, I would have to be switching. Like, even with these, like, say these came in production right now,
Hmm.
I still need prescription glasses. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to be carrying around two sets of glasses, one
Yeah.
for regular eyesight, and then two, these when I want to do augmented reality. I
Right.
want one pair of
It all
glasses.
integrated.
Right. That does everything. So
Right.
they've got a ways to go to get there. But as far as the form factor, this is what I was thinking about. And I'm pretty sure this is what a lot of people were thinking about
Yeah.
when you talk about consumer grade,
Yeah.
everyday glasses that also, provide a tech angle to them.
And I completely agree. And my thing is, if this is what they're demoing, imagine what they have back in their sandbox, back in their R&D room,
Well,
what
we'll
they're doing.
see. We'll see.
They're I think if this is what they're able to prototype and show now, you have to believe they were confident enough to show this, that the next iteration of this is they're already working on it as well. So when we'll see that, we don't know. But I again, I, I'm very, strict on giving my kudos to Meta, but on this one, I think they're making some good progress. I think.
And it could just be, with also could just be Zuckerberg trying to stick one to Apple by
Yeah.
coming out by
Yeah.
announcing something and having a tangible product first, right?
Right.
And then, it really don't stand up right now.
Right.
But the fact that they were first,
Yeah.
I think he also
He gets
could,
to say that.
right. And then everything after that, whether it be Apple, Samsung, Sony, whomever does something after this, he has
Mhm.
that, like you said, he has that cachet. So it could also be that as well.
Yeah, that as well. Yep. That's gonna wrap it up for Second String. We're gonna head on over into For the Culture. I was so disappointed in this. As I said, what I think back during the summer, in July, I went to see Janet Jackson. I've seen her perform before, but she put on a phenomenal show at 58. It was a great show. And I am a Black girl of a certain age, so we stand for Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson, if you nasty. Well, um, my poor little, preteen, teenage heart got a little bruised because Janet recently did an article with The Guardian where she talked about a myriad of things. But in this particular article, what stood out is that Janet Jackson made some comments about Kamala Harris, the current vice president and the Democratic nominee for president, basically parroting some Trump, Republican QAnon lies. She said in this interview with Guardian that essentially that Kamala Harris isn't black, that she heard that her father is white and that she's Indian, she meaning Kamala Harris. And she's like, she kept saying, well, this is what I've been told. This is what I've heard. And of course, all of these things have been debunked. And when you're Janet Jackson from arguably probably the most famous entertainment family in the world, hearing her, parroting these known and debunked falsities, lies, in a publication as large as The Guardian with less than 50 days to the 2024 presidential election, it it invoked some very visceral responses, especially when after, this article came out, there was an apology that came out that was actually really well done. And people were like, oh, thank God. Turns out Janet was like, no, I didn't make that apology. I basically said what I said. And now I'm going to go back to grieving my brother. And it's one of those things where lots of social media commentary, because Janet Jackson is black. She is from a black American family with 2 black parents and a gang of black brothers and sisters. And she herself, in fact, has a child that is biracial. All of the Jackson children, with the exception of all of the Jackson children, with the exception of her one sister, all have biracial children. So it's not like it's that thing where she doesn't understand the concept of biracial, and biracial with 2 non-white parents. So she very much understands that concept, because that's essentially what her 90% of her family makeup is. And I say all this to say that I was definitely very disappointed, and disappointed that not only did she say it, but she's essentially doubling down on it. And in the age that we are in society, when it comes to celebrities, of course, they are rich, they're famous, they're well known, but they are also still members of our society, and they have civil liberties and civil rights. As we've seen many celebrities and famous and rich people come out and support Kamala Harris, she has that same right. So it's, holding these people in higher esteem, it plays on their people on, both sides of the aisle that have famous people. Of course, the Democratic side much more. But I can still be disappointed, and I am so disappointed, because it is a known falsity. And for someone who has her platform to parrot this and say this in such a wide arena is very disappointing. And then when you find out that her brother Randy, who is her manager, is a Trumper,
Allegedly.
Well, they've gone back to some of his, of course, I always say allegedly, but they've gone through some of his social media and seen posts, reposts, likes that allude, where he's basically accepting, liking QAnon and Trump material. And so some people are trying to basically infantilize her. Words escape me today. And saying that, oh, her brother is the only one she trusts, the only one she listens to. That could very well be true, but she is still a 58-year-old woman who understands her platform. I mean, she gave us Rhythm Nation.
Does she, though? Does she? Janet Jackson has been famous and has been rich her entire life. I don't put it past somebody who has been famous and rich for their entire life to lean conservative because the main one of the main differentiators between conservatives and liberals is liberals feel like share the wealth. You got money, you should use your money, you should use your influence, you should use your position to help everybody, right? Conservatives are like, hey man, I've worked hard all my life to make all this money to be in a position where I am. I don't want nobody telling me what I should be doing with my money. Now, if I want to give my money to the homeless, or if I want to give my money to the college, or if I want to help poor people, that is my job. That is my choice to make.
Yeah.
The government can't be taking my money. So for the Jacksons, all of them, even though maybe not all of them, let me not say that. The majority of them have been rich and famous for most of their lives. I don't put it past them to also be like, Trump is the dude that's going to give me tax cuts, and Trump is the dude that's going to allow me to keep my money. Probably the little of it that I have, because again, even though they are rich and they are famous, that don't mean they're wealthy, right? They just live in check to check like we are. So
just in a better house.
Right. So somebody's coming along and say, hey man, we not, the unrealized capital gains is only for people worth $100 million. That's Janet Jackson and them.
Yeah.
We are like, this is the argument of the day, with Kamala and her unrealized taxing. Everybody's like, well, she's coming to take if you've got equity in your home, the unrealized tax. No, it's not, because you don't make $100 million, right?
Yeah.
Janet Jackson and them do. They've got all them properties. They've got all that estate. They've got all the money. And they're like, hey man, wait a minute.
You trying to take what now?
So all that to say, I don't put it past anybody, regardless of their skin color, to be like, hey man, and then use to bring it back to the story, to use the fact that Kamala ain't black as a excuse as to why they're not voting for Kamala. Not necessarily stand on business and say, look, man, I got a lot of money. I'm trying to keep my money. I'm going to vote for the team that's going to help me keep my money. I would much rather you say that than to say, I don't know about Kamala. Is she black? Really? I don't know about that. So as a result of the fuzziness and the uncertainty, I'm going to stay over here on Team Trump. That's what people do. They use little stuff like that as an excuse, right?
Yeah.
I'd just rather you stand on business. And the fact that Janet Jackson, to me, has been an out of touch person for a while now, to where, she's, quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she's ever used her platform to speak out on things in general. Right?
Well, so the thing is, I don't understand it, but people have the right to choose who they want to vote for. So if she's a Republican, if she's a Trumper, okay, girl, I guess. But my thing is knowingly putting out misinformation that isn't true.
That's what
is a lie. And that's my issue. And in this large of a platform, because people will take it, and they already have, and run, well, Janet said, because Janet is their person. Well, Janet said, so Janet must be right because she's rich, she's famous, she knows everything. So that's my issue with it. And she has spoken out. Again, like I said, she spoke, and from what I can tell, she's spoken out in her music and in some interviews. She's, we have Rhythm Nation. We all know what that is about. She did the song Together Again, and it was in support for HIV/AIDS. She did the song because, a lot of people, dancers, musicians, hair, makeup people that were her friends passed away from HIV/AIDS because they were a part of the LGBTQ. So my thing is, she can be factual on some things, and she knows how to do that, but she chose on this specific thing to parrot false and misinformation and lies. And that, to me, is where the issue is. And that's why I say people are trying to make it seem like, oh, she's so helpless. No, she knows what is correct and what is incorrect. And she chose, like many other Trumpers, many other Republicans, they are choosing to lie and spread misinformation to try and get their person elected, knowing full well that they are lying and that they are incorrect and spreading misinformation to millions and millions of people. So that, to me, that's my issue with all of it.
I get it. I just don't give celebrities all that much credit. To be honest, they aunties and uncles on Facebook with the 5G chips in the vaccines, just with a lot of money.
Yeah, and my thing is, I don't give them that much credence either. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who do.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, and it's one of those things that it impacts us all. And it does have an impact on us.
Right.
And unfortunately, that could lead someone to go and vote for him because Janet said so.
Right.
And it's those type of, for those of us who are informed, well aware, sure, we know it's BS. But it's a large segment of people who don't have that critical thinking. And they are following whatever their person says.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is where
it's
the
dangerous.
issue is.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
And she'll be protected because she's rich and she's famous. But the person who's her fan, who's voting for this, they're going to be the ones that are going to be harmed.
And that's where I'm like, come on, y'all. We need to stop putting these celebrities on these pedestals. Because we love them when they say what we want them to say. And we curse their names if they even think opposite of what we think they're supposed to say. And it's just like, we need to stop that, man. It just needs to go back to, you know what? She's a talented performer. And then that's it.
I enjoy her music.
I enjoy her. And that is it. But we take it to a whole nother level that's just can prove to be disappointing and can also be hurtful and harmful.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you think about it, back in the civil rights, that's where the influence came from. You had, along with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, you had
Halle
Belafonte, Quincy Jones,
Nina Simone, and,
Lena Horne, Ozzie Davis, Ruby, all these people who we know and we trust and we respect because of the way they move and the things they support. But as Black people and other people of color have gotten more successful, have gotten more money, they've aligned with people who would have oppressed them before.
With the system, with the man.
Right. So, the thought and the concept of associating, Black entertainers with good and what's right and what's, going to protect all Black people, that shifted because they're like, look, I'm all about this money. I'm all about this green. That's the only color I care about. So who's going to show me the money? That's who I'm showing up for.
And how hypocritical is it of Janet Jackson to be talking about another person's family when all people do is talk sideways about the Jacksons? And for the nerve for them to be like, and nerve for Janet to be like, hey, but I don't know, is Kamala, it's like, come on, man, you would think that y'all would be the first people like, hey, man, y'all need to lay off of Kamala Harris because her family should be private, off matters, y'all shouldn't be talking about her
Y'all said
mom.
It for many years. Right. You should leave our family alone. We just want privacy.
And here you go.
And speculating because they speculated about Michael's children. They've speculated about hers and her other siblings because, again, like I said at the top of this, all of them, except for the older sister, have biracial children.
Rebe
had not Black children.
Rebe had sense enough to get up out the game early.
She was like, you know what? I'm done. Let me get up out of here and save myself. So Rebe's the only one. So yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up for the culture. Let's head on over to the lowdown for the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
All right. So I've got a couple of Apple Watch tips. The first one is quick timers. So I use my watch to set timers for a myriad of things I'm doing, whether it be cooking, whether it be watching for the washing machine to make sure it's done before I put clothes in the dryer, cooking, all that. And normally the way I do it is I'll say, hey, homegirl, Siri, I'm trying to say it loud, but set a timer for X amount of minutes, seconds, or whatever. So my first tip is you don't even have to say the set a timer for part. What you can do is if you invoke her Siri by saying her name, or you press and hold the button, you don't even have to say the timer part. If you just simply say 30 seconds, it'll automatically know that, hey, you want to set a timer for 30 seconds and do the countdown. So then that goes for an alarm, that goes for a lot of different things, to where if you just say 10 seconds after you invoke, invoke Siri, it'll automatically know that you're doing a timer. So that's my first tip. And this also works for the iPhone as well. So if you invoke Siri via your iPhone and just say 30 seconds, it'll automatically do the timer for 30 seconds. So that's my first tip. The second tip is on your phone, on your watch, you can do one of the control center. I call it the control center for the Apple Watch. And I call it the phone locator button, to where normally what people do is if they've lost their phone, they can't find their phone, it's stuck in the couch cushions, under the bed, whatever, left it in the car, whatever the case may be, you can pull up the control center on your watch and do the phone locator, and it'll do an audible noise to where it'll kind of guide you to it, right? People know that. What people don't know is what my tip is. If you press and hold that button, in addition to doing a audible sound, it'll flash the light, the I call it the flashlight.
The flashlight.
But it's the light on the back
camera
of
light.
The camera light on the back of the phone. It'll flash it so you can see. You'll have a visual cue to find it, in addition to an audible sound. So those are my two tips. I'm trying to.
Can I add one?
Go ahead.
Because
go
I
ahead.
saw this when I was looking up storage for the day. There's a new setting called Tactic Time that you set on your Apple Watch, and the way they said it in the article. If you don't want to, if someone's talking, who's like, I really want to see what time it is so I can go. You can turn this on and just press two fingers on the home screen. And then you'll get a haptic tap that tells you what the time is. You can do it in Morse code. You can set it to Morse code, or you can set it to do buzzes, to say if it's 8, it'll do
buzz 8 times.
Buzzes, and then it'll buzz 4 times. Then it'll buzz 8 times for the other one. And I was like, is that real? And I tried it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Yep. So trying to get my money's worth out of this watch that I just bought. So it's like, let me figure out some tips to make my life a little bit easier. So those are 2 little tips that I do all the time, especially timers. I set timers for things all the time. And the fact that I can just say 10 seconds versus, hey, set a timer for it and think about it and just do the 10 seconds or whatever. It'll just do it. So those are my tips for the week.
Awesome. And with that, that's going to wrap up the show for this week. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Yep, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATCH. And also on our Discord community. I've been trying to get more active and put more stuff and have more communications, because we do have some people in our Discord community. So I'm putting more effort into that. So if you want to find me and talk about Apple stuff specifically, stuff we don't necessarily talk about on the show, and just daily stuff that happens to pop up, please join our Discord community.
Join us. And I'll be more proactive as well, because I don't be over there either. But I'm going to do better. For me, you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva. Everywhere there is a social media app. So yeah, for our show, the show has social media as well, and a website. And you can use that to connect, to comment, to share, and support our show. And you can do that by going over to snobblewestcast.com and get all of those lovely details. And again, that's going to wrap up the show, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.